All right, let's talk about money. You think your crypto portfolio is volatile because some billionaire tweeted a meme? You think the stock market is weird because a bunch of guys on a forum decided to buy a failing video game store? Hold my beer. Because before humanity got its act together with boring things like gold coins and paper, we used some of the most brain-meltingly stupid stuff as currency. We're about to dive into an economic history that feels like it was written by a drunk toddler on a sugar high who was also trying to run a Fortune 500 company. This isn't your grandpa's history lesson. This is a guided tour through the financial dumpster fire of our ancestors, where the line between wealthy and clinically insane was basically non-existent. Number 1. Trickle-down economics, the shaman's whiz. We start our journey in the frozen, unforgiving tundra of Siberia, where it gets so cold that your soul needs a jacket, and the concept of normal left town about 10,000 years ago. In this environment, survival was hard, but staying entertained was harder. Local shamans discovered that a specific type of hallucinogenic mushroom allowed them to commune with the spirits, or at least see some very colorful reindeer. However, these mushrooms were incredibly toxic. The human body, in its infinite biological wisdom, would filter out the deadly poisons, but pass the fun stuff directly into the shaman's urine. Naturally, the locals created an entire economy around drinking the shaman's pee. This wasn't just a gross hobby, it was a high-stakes financial system. Because the psychoactive compound stayed potent after being processed, a single dose of mushrooms could be recycled through several people. People would trade actual living reindeer, the most valuable survival asset they had, for a warm cup of second-hand spiritual enlightenment. This is the only time in human history that trickle-down economics was a literal, physical, and highly aromatic event. Imagine your bank statement in Siberia. Withdraw, 1 reindeer. Deposit, 1 pint of shaman whiz. Quality control must have been a nightmare. You'd have traders arguing over the potency of the batch, accusing the shaman of drinking too much water and diluting the currency. It makes your cousin who sank his life savings into a Dogecoin knockoff look like Warren Buffett. At least Dogecoin doesn't require you to drink someone's filtered waste. Number 2. Whale puke, the olfactory oil strike. Imagine you're taking a lovely beach vacation looking for seashells when you stumble upon a waxy, gray, lumpy blob that smells like a squid's armpit and rotting seaweed. Your instinct is to run, but if you did, you might have just sprinted away from a multi-million-dollar fortune. That disgusting lump is ambergris, which is a fancy French-sounding word for what is essentially a sperm whale's vomit-adjacent hairball. When a whale eats too many sharp squid beaks, its stomach produces this waxy sludge to protect its insides, and then it eventually exits the whale. For some reason, the high society elite in Paris and London decided this whale gut sludge was the perfect ingredient to make their expensive perfumes last longer. Ambergris has the unique chemical property of fixing a scent to the skin, meaning it's the reason your $300 cologne doesn't fade after 5 minutes. The first guy who discovered this must have been a special kind of weirdo. Imagine him coming home to his wife. "Honey, I found this stinky rock from a whale's digestive tract. I'm going to rub it on my neck and sell it for the price of a small house." She probably divorced him, but little did she know he had stumbled upon the olfactory equivalent of striking oil. Thanks to him, the world's most luxurious scents are built on a foundation of whale puke. It is nature's ultimate prank on the wealthy. The more you pay to smell like a god, the more you're actually smelling like a whale's indigestion. Number 3. Filthy rich, the dung heap dynasty. High up in the Andes Mountains, trees are basically a myth. There's no wood for fire, no coal in the ground, and the wind is cold enough to shatter bone. In this environment, you had one main option for fuel: dried llama dung. Because it was the only thing standing between you and freezing to death, llama dung became a premium currency. Yes, in this society, people were literally getting paid in poop. This was perhaps the most secure form of money ever devised by man. You can't counterfeit poop. What are you going to do? Try to make your own? Good luck matching the fiber consistency of a high-altitude llama.
This led to a social structure where your status was directly tied to the size of your dung heap. Filthy rich wasn't a metaphor or a colorful expression. It was a literal description of the upper class. If you wanted to impress a date, you wouldn't show off your sports car. You'd point to a pile of excrement that blocked out the sun. The only real threat to your net worth was a sudden rainstorm, which could turn your entire net worth into a brown, sludgy mess overnight. That is a market crash you can smell from miles away. Imagine the anxiety of a banker in the Andes watching a dark cloud roll in, knowing his entire vault was about to dissolve into the ground.
Number 4. The Snow Raiders, paying for physics. Wealthy people have always been extra, but a certain Himalayan Raja was the undisputed king of pointless flexing. Living in a scorching hot palace, he didn't want gold or jewels, he wanted something much more impossible. He would pay his servants a fortune in gold coins for one simple, high-speed service: to sprint up to the mountain peaks, grab a basket of snow, and run back down as fast as humanly possible before it melted, just so he could have a chilled beverage in the middle of a heat wave. This guy was the world's original influencer, staging the most insane get-ready-with-me routine in history. His servants were the 15th century version of DoorDash, delivering a product with a 5-minute lifespan to a customer who was clearly bored out of his mind. He wasn't just buying snow, he was buying the ability to laugh in the face of physics and common sense. He was paying people in gold, one of the most stable assets in human history, for an asset that was actively trying to stop existing. It was the ultimate display of power. To the Raja, the fact that the money disappeared as soon as it touched the glass was the whole point. If you can afford to pay for something that melts in 5 minutes, you've truly won the game of capitalism. Number 5. The biodegradable bank. Leaf currency. We often say that money doesn't grow on trees, but some cultures in the South Pacific looked at that statement and said, "Watch me." They literally wrote their IOUs, financial contracts, and currency values on leaves. This is a financial system designed by someone who has never seen a moderate gust of wind. Imagine the economic chaos of a Tuesday afternoon breeze. "Dude, I swear I paid you back the 5 leaves I owed you, but a deer ate the receipt and the wind blew my savings account into the ocean." The legal system must have been an absolute comedy routine. Your entire life savings could be wiped out by a very hungry caterpillar or a particularly humid autumn. "Your Honor, my client's loan agreement was tragically composted last October." Forgery was as simple as finding a similar branch on a nearby tree. This makes investing in a meme coin seem like the safest, most conservative financial decision you could possibly make. It wasn't just a volatile market, it was a biodegradable one. It was the original green investment, but in the most frustrating way imaginable. If your wealth depends on the health of a shrub, you aren't an investor, you're a gardener with a gambling problem. Number 6. Liquid wages, the gin craze. Welcome to 18th century London during the gin craze, a period where the city was essentially running on cheap booze and terrible decisions. Some factory owners, who were clearly evil geniuses with no moral compass, decided to solve the problem of a coin shortage by paying their workers partly in gin. This wasn't a Friday happy hour bonus. It was a trap designed to keep the working class in a state of perpetual drunken compliance. Your salary was something that actively encouraged you to be a terrible employee. How are you supposed to save for a better life when your savings account is a bottle of 80-proof liquid staring at you from the kitchen counter, whispering sweet nothings about your problems? The company's HR department probably had a designated hangover corner instead of a retirement plan. It was the perfect corporate scam, a currency that doubled as a tool to ensure its recipients would never be sober enough to realize they were being exploited. It's hard to organize a labor strike when you can't walk in a straight line. This was the dark side of liquid assets.
Number 7. Fallout reality. The bottle cap economy. You don't even have to go back to the Middle Ages for this kind of financial weirdness. In parts of post-conflict Africa, when the official government money became as valuable as used toilet paper due to hyperinflation, the people hit the reset button. They started using beer bottle caps as currency. This is a system straight out of the Fallout video game playbook, proving that life imitates art in the most depressing ways possible. It started because a major brewery ran a prize promotion under the caps. Suddenly, every cap had a potential value. Within months, a Guinness cap became the equivalent of a $20 bill, while some knockoff soda cap was basically a penny. You have to picture some marketing executive in a boardroom in Europe having absolutely no clue that he had accidentally become the chairman of the Federal Reserve for an entire region. Wealth was no longer silent. It was the loud, clattering rattle of a pocket full of garbage. Trying to buy something expensive, like a cow or a car, you had to show up with a giant trash bag full of metal caps like a deranged, drunken Santa Claus. It was a literal, clink-based economy.
Number 8. The built-in death clock. Cigarette gold. When civilization hits the panic button, whether it's in a war-torn country or behind prison walls, one currency always climbs out of the rubble: the cigarette. After World War II, the official currencies of Europe were jokes. You couldn't buy bread with a pile of Reichmarks, but you could buy a family's dinner for a few Marlboros. In the prison system today, it remains the gold standard. The cigarette is the James Dean of currencies. It's cool, it's bad for you, and everyone secretly wants it. From an economic perspective, it's actually a perfect currency because it has a built-in death clock. It actively encourages spending because you literally burn your money away to get a hit of nicotine. You aren't going to hoard your life savings if your life savings are constantly tempting you to go out on the porch for a 5-minute break from existence. It's the most honest currency in the world because it tells you exactly what it's worth: a few minutes of peace in a world that has gone completely mad. It's a deflationary asset that you smoke. What more could an economist ask for? Number 9. Paying through the teeth. Dolphin dental units. On the Solomon Islands, if you wanted to buy a pig, a piece of land, or arrange a marriage, you didn't whip out a leather wallet. You opened a heavy bag filled with teeth, specifically dolphin teeth. We're talking about thousands upon thousands of them, meticulously drilled and strung into elaborate necklaces. This is an economy with a dark, toothy secret. Because, as it turns out, dolphins don't just willingly donate their incisors for the sake of the local GDP. The whole system was a logistical and ethical nightmare. Imagine the financial planning involved in a major purchase. Okay, honey, if we want to buy that new canoe, I'm going to need to go make a withdrawal from about 30 dolphins. It gives a whole new literal meaning to the phrase paying through the teeth. You also have to wonder if they had back-alley dentists who moonlighted as counterfeiters, trying to pass off shark teeth or carved bone as the real deal. It is the most cheerful and simultaneously terrifying currency ever devised. It's hard to feel like a sophisticated investor when your net worth is a bag of aquatic animal parts. Number 10. The edible savings. Edible dirt cakes. You've probably heard the expression, "so poor you have to eat dirt." Well, in parts of Africa and South America, that wasn't a metaphor for poverty. It was a legitimate financial strategy. People used specially prepared mineral-rich edible clay as both a food supplement and a form of currency. These were little baked cakes of dirt that you could either trade for a chicken or, if the market was slow and you were hungry, just chow down on for lunch. Talk about a versatile asset. Your money wasn't just burning a hole in your pocket, it was a potential snack. But think about the economic implications of a currency you can eat. A famine would cause massive hyperinflation because people would start literally eating their savings accounts. It is the only currency in human history where your net worth could be directly affected by whether or not you skipped breakfast. I was going to buy a house, but I got hungry and ate the down payment.
It's the ultimate liquid, or rather solid, asset. It's the only time in history where swallowing your pride and swallowing your paycheck were the exact same thing. Humans have worshipped rocks, wigs, rotten bird nests, and even the soul of an iron rod. We've traded reindeer for pea and gold for snow. Looking back, it's easy to laugh at our ancestors, but let's be real. Is a digital image of a bored ape or a piece of paper with a dead president's face really that much more sane than a whale's vomit hairball? We just swapped the physical weirdness for digital weirdness. So, tell me, what is our modern equivalent? Drop the dumbest, most valuable thing you can think of in the comments. Is it crypto, NFTs, or those $50 luxury ice cubes? Defend your nonsense. And if your brain just did a full-speed cartwheel through history, hit like and subscribe. There's plenty more historical stupidity where this came from.